up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Tribaholics. With you as always, my name is Caleb Skinner. You can follow me on Twitter at CHSNull. You can follow our podcast Twitter account as well at Tribaholics, as well as our YouTube and Facebook channels. You just Tribaholics everything, and that'll take you to exactly where you're going to go, whether it's channel, whether it's Facebook page, whether it's Twitter page, anything that you guys want. With me as always are my two co-hosts. I'll let them take it from here. We're going to go bottom to top this time instead of going to Ben, because I feel like Ben's always at the top. But Christian, what's up, man?
Yeah, not much. Hanging out, ready to get into the show finally on a Victory Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm glad we won. Still like to complain about things, but otherwise I'm doing good. Feeling a little sick, but
We knew it was coming, Ben.
hey, I said we were gonna win by 5. We did not win by 5, so I lost, but it's okay.
Yeah, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care if we cover the spread. If we didn't cover the spread, dude, we got the fucking W, and that's what matters to me. We got the first on the board, and the guy that you talked about shit about is the one who won it for us. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But like we mentioned on our on our Twitter account, weren't able to get to Instagram and YouTube or Facebook yesterday because, of course, all that shit was happening where they got hacked and all kinds of different shit was going on where they were just gone all day long. But we introduced that we are going to be having a special guest on this show, and that is Chris Frazier, part of the Spearatics podcast, the main host of Spearatics there. He's got a great following on Facebook. You guys should go follow him on Facebook. Try and join that group as well if you're a Florida State fan. But Chris, man, we appreciate you for joining the show. How are you doing tonight, brother?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, man. I appreciate y'all inviting me on here. I'm really excited about it. I watched Tribaholics before you got your new co-host, and I always enjoyed it. I think I messaged you beforehand and told you that watching y'all was the reason why I wanted to start one myself. So it's pretty cool to be able to join the folks I seen do it first.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. We greatly appreciated that. I remember we were on when I think that might have been one of our first episodes that I done with Ben and Christian after Marshall, had to leave because he got busy with school and work and everything. And I sent them a screenshot of it. And I was like, dude, how awesome is that? Like that's so much love. So we do appreciate that love from, not only you, people who are, in the field and have a great following and know what they're doing, know what they're talking about, have great ins and outs with different connections from people in the university, people outside the university, just showing us love. So we really appreciate, the love that you show us, man. We really do. More coming here saying that's deep. But yeah, Chris is coming here.
Are the Chargers the best team in the AFC, Luke, in the NFL? Are they?
We're gonna get to the NFL. We're gonna talk about Derwin. We're gonna talk about Asante. So just give it a break, all right? Give it a break. Our first segment, as always, guys, what are you sipping on? We ask this every episode. If you guys are watching on Twitter and you want to comment and let us know what you're sipping on, Twitter just switched over from Periscope. Twitter's doing their own thing now, so you're not able to comment on the live stream. So head over to our YouTube, head over to our Facebook page. That way you can comment. Let us know what you're sipping on. For me, I'll wait till the end this time. I'm going to go with our special guest here with Chris. Chris, what are you sipping on tonight, brother?
As usual, it's pretty much just a tradition. Crown and Coke as always.
Oh, that sounds good. I wish I could afford a Crown. I'm a poor college student.
Just go in a circle. Christian, what you got?
Yeah, I've got a Corona. It's pretty much all I had left over in the fridge from the weekend, and I didn't make it to the store today. So simple enough.
That work life.
I'm drinking a nice glass of water. I'm not feeling the best, so I'm trying to recover, make it to the weekend, do it all over again.
Long weekend in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, I think I was yelling so much about the Auburn game because I took Auburn money line at the bar. I was being obnoxious in the Tuscaloosa bars that I got like laryngitis or something, so I'm just trying to recover.
Nice. Good for you.
Just probably easily contracted COVID and don't even realize it. But this is the second week in a row, by the way. I just want to let the people know. Second week in a row that Ben almost hasn't drank, but he did drink. And so maybe he'll pick up something, but I highly doubt it. Ben is kind of the biggest puss out of all of us on the show. So
you are with me.
Okay.
Whoa.
Okay. We're just gonna keep moving. I'm drinking Bud Light Tall Boys. my go-to. That's what I've been drinking for the past few shows. I'm gonna ride with it, boys. They're on sale, $15.99 at Circle K for 15 pack of Tall Boys. I'm gonna ride with that all day. That's what I'm doing until they take them off sale. And then I gotta pick something else up. So, guys, throughout the show, let us know what you guys are sipping on. That's something we do each and every week. Without further ado, we'll jump into the sports section of what's going on at Florida State. We're gonna hop into a little of what's going on outside of football before we hop into football. So. Baseball begins their exhibition games. They were actually supposed to begin last night. Apparently that wasn't the case. I didn't see that, any updates of everything that was going on, but they were supposed to start last night with an exhibition game against, trying to pull it up right now.
It was
Ontario.
Academy or whatever.
They got rained out last night, which is why they couldn't go. I'm pretty sure the next one is against Troy, I want to say, on
Jacksonville,
October
I believe.
Oh, Jacksonville. Okay.
And then Troy.
Jacksonville, then Troy. I know it's October 16th. So look forward to that. I mean, there's going to be a lot of new faces out there, so it's going to be exciting to see. I'm not sure that I'm going to get to watch any of those, but I'll definitely look into the reports coming out of them.
Yeah, and Chris, you were recruited for baseball. You played baseball as well. So do you have any insight a little bit into, what to expect this baseball season at all? When it comes to this season, is it going to look different than last year? Are we going to, make it back to the College World Series in your opinion?
The reason that I would say that we have a good shot to make it back to the College World Series is because of the transfers, more so than who we've recruited. Not that we've recruited anybody bad. We actually have a decent class, but I would more say because of the transfers that have all came from this past season to this season, which being their first with us, I see a lot of offense, which we were lacking last year as far as bats go. So I think a lot of pretty big hitters have decided to come to Florida State due to playing time. They're not behind a guy that's ready to go to the MLB ASAP. So I think we have a good shot as long as we can start meshing together real quick.
I'm just glad Nanner's going to be gone, dude.
You don't want any of those errors in the infield anymore.
I still can't
that's something
we lost to Ole Miss.
That's something that really plagued us last
range.
year. I feel like that really plagued us last year were those errors, especially in the infield. And apparently coming out of reports that I've been seeing on Twitter and things is that the infield has looked tremendous when it comes to, playing ground ball. So super excited to see that, come to fruition and not be what it was last year.
Can't get worse.
Can't get much worse. And then we'll move on to Noel Hoops. FSU, Florida State basketball coming back to the Tuck this year. Super excited for it. Got a transfer in Caleb Mills. Got a couple of good recruits, obviously, Matthew Cleveland and then Jalen Worley. So really excited to see what we're going to be able to run there. Little question marks we talked about before. They're at the center position. Maybe it's going to see a little bit of Malik Osborne there, a little bit more so than, Engom and everybody else. But they just had their first week of practice. We haven't seen a whole lot from it other than short clips here on Instagram and Twitter and things of that nature. So haven't been able to really see a lot from it, but we did pick up 2 commitments for the 2022 recruiting class. Tom House, not ranked. He's a 6'6" small forward. And then also Deontay Green, who is a pretty high 3-star power forward there. Any thoughts on those 2 guys? I know me and Ben kind of pay attention more to the basketball side of things. So any thoughts on those 2 guys? I personally, everybody's been hating on Tom House. I know you've been hating on the Tom House pickup there, Ben. But, he's a white boy and he's going to shoot the ball. As long as he can shoot the ball, that's all I care about. Give me a guy who can just shoot the ball from 3. We've always had somebody like that, whether it was PJ Savoy or Wyatt Wilkes or no matter who it be. We always got somebody. We got somebody who can shoot a 3. That's all we need. That's all he's probably going to be picked up for. I'm sure he's going to get that bump since he committed to Florida State. You always get that bump. So thoughts on, Deontay Green and Tom House?
Yeah, I like the Deontay Green take. Don't like the Tom House take. I don't know. It's frustrating to see us go from potentially 4 or 5 stars to some unranked fucking loser, but whatever. I trust him. He'll develop him and see how it goes.
So, Ben, do you think they took this Tom House kid because they had to? Like they were out of choices? Or you think they actually see something they like?
No. 2 more high school kids. That's what we want. But big commitment coming Friday. Don't know who's going to be. It's either FSU, Tennessee, LSU, or USC. Julian Phillips, 5-star. Need him. Got to get him. 5 o'clock.
Great. When is he committing?
Friday at 4 Eastern or 5. It's either 3 or 4 Eastern on Friday. And that's a must get. We get him.
Do you think we have a pretty good shot at it? I mean, I think it's probably us or Tennessee when looking at those teams that you just mentioned.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have any really inside information. I mean, people feel good. I know Tennessee guys think it's us, but there's always there's always the ability for Will Wade to come in and throw a bag at him. And the USC visit went really well, so you're gonna have to see how that goes.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Seems like we kind of hit a hot streak with recruiting for a year or two under Leonard Hamilton, getting all these guys, and now kind of falling back into what we were before in terms of recruiting. But it's still a long recruiting process for basketball. Football's coming up very, very, very soon. But basketball's got a long way to go. A lot of guys kind of sit it out, wait, or change their minds, and all kinds of different things when it comes to basketball. A lot more to happen with that, so we can't sit on it too much, but. Looking at our rankings right now for that, I mean, we're sitting at a 29 national rank there in the 2022 basketball commit. So it's not awful. It's not bad right now, but we definitely have room to work.
It'll go up.
Yeah. So how does for like the people who pay less attention to basketball than football, asking for a friend, how does the signing period work with the extended period starting in November? Is that for 22? Like, what are we looking at here with that?
You can ink the pen starting November 22nd for the next class, and then you just have to sign before next season. Depends on when you want to enroll.
Okay.
So like Scotty Barnes, he signed I think last November, early December, so he was locked in. His recruitment was over, but there are a lot of guys that will sign in like March and April.
All right, so it goes all the way till the summer.
Mm-hmm. It's much longer than football, but football is the same length, but a more condensed signing time.
Okay. So what we've got right now is just verbals.
Yeah, no one's used to put ink on paper yet.
You can't sign until early National Signing Day. I mean, that's for all sports. You can't sign until that late December or late November, early December, signing period. So that's set in stone right there for all sports, not just football. But that's kind of where it goes from there. But let's get into the thick of things, guys. NFL Knowles, we're going to start getting the football here. NFL Knowles, I'll let somebody else take this. Somebody else lead it off. I know Christian likes to pay attention to the NFL. So let's start on the offensive side of the ball, Christian. Let's start with what old Jameis Winston from Bessemer, Alabama, was able to do for the Saints this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't get to watch this Saints game at all, honestly. I was a little bit out of it this Sunday, slept in later than usual, and had some stuff to take care of. I did watch my Steelers get embarrassed once again, and that was kind of it for me. Kind of took me out of it for the NFL on the day.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and give the stats for what Jameis.
So I can't give any help on that.
The Giants came out with the win in overtime, 27-21. So Jameis did take that L there. But he had a pretty good day overall. 0 turnovers once again, 226 yards passing, 1 touchdown, and a season high 73.9 completion percentage. Didn't do a whole lot to win the game, but didn't do a whole lot to lose the game. And the Giants were just a better team on that day. Any thoughts on Jameis Winston, guys, and his performance on Sunday?
I wish I'd give him more deep shots. It feels like his yards per attempt is just not good. Like, we've seen that he can make the short throws. Let him air it out a little bit more because this little dink and dunk bullshit doesn't work in the NFL.
I did, to support that point. People were going nuts on Twitter complaining at Sean Payton for bringing in Taysom Hill for a deep shot when Jameis hadn't really been able to open it up for the day.
And he
so that's
pick immediately after.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I don't know what it is with Payton in general and his obsession with Taysom Hill, but I wish he would get over that.
Yeah, I don't really like it. Taysom Hill has to have something on Sean Payton or some sort of dirt.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Any thoughts, Chris?
I feel bad for Jameis because I personally believe that the defense could have made a couple more stands than they did, from what I've seen. Allowing them to go to overtime in the first place, I thought was pretty ridiculous from the defense standpoint. I also think that there was a couple of missed routes or misreads from the wide receivers that could have been potential touchdowns or first downs to keep moving the ball, and they weren't able to because of just mindset. In my opinion, the game plan wasn't in the wide receivers' minds, in my opinion. So I kind of feel bad for him. He did good with not turning the ball over, but Jameis isn't used to throwing less than 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, and he had 1. So that tells you something. The wide receiver core, they weren't on the same page for some reason. I don't know how you get lost in between Friday and Sunday, but I guess it happens.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I guess it's just a game plan that Sean Payton puts together. Not much that Jameis can really do to change that. I'm not sure if Sean Payton completely trusts him back there yet, which is understandable from seeing him back in Tampa Bay. But hopefully he can start to pick it up and showing that he's not turning the ball over. He can start taking shots more downfield than so what's happened. I also think Alvin Kamara needs to get a little bit more involved in the game on little short screen passes, like they much did with Drew Brees.
Please,
they're not
as a
using
fantasy owner, please.
Yeah, it would be nice for fantasy, that's for sure. Staying on the opposite side of the ball, DC4, a very pedestrian game. Anybody got thoughts? He did score that touchdown, but pretty much sat out the majority of the second half there in Minnesota's loss.
Yeah,
I didn't catch this entire game either, but just seeing Twitter clips of Dalvin, I think, and the fact that he sat out, he's definitely hurt. Like he's trying to push back from an injury or something. He's definitely not himself right now, which is disappointing because I can't think of a point in his career when that hasn't been an issue. But it seems like it's really nagging him so far this season.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of pissing me off because I had the whole Dalvin Cook's the best running back in the league agenda.
Me too.
And now I have to say it's Derrick Henry because it is. But I don't like to say it, but I will.
Well, I could still say Dalvin's the best when healthy.
That's
I'll
a
go
good
with that.
I like that narrative.
I'm going to stick to that one.
For fantasy purposes, guys, I am kind of giving somebody a shout out here, but the Hateful Hitman podcast, I listen to him for fantasy reasons because other than there being old in the pros and, well, fantasy, there's no reason for me to watch NFL because I quit watching it years back. And then I had somebody ask me to get into a fantasy league. So that's the only reason I know anything about what's going on in the NFL. But I had Dalvin also in my lineup, and I removed him after listening to the podcast the Friday night before. There's someone had said there was a rumor going around that he was dealing with his hamstring again. We know he dealt with it at Florida State. I mean, no injury is good, but I'd rather it be his hamstring that he needs to get over than his ACL and his other knee or MCL or something to that extent. So it's probably just, limit as much time as you can, do what you can when we got you in there. But I had a huge hint that he wasn't going to play much that game. So if y'all ever want to just listen to the guy, he just pretty much gives you updates on injuries and who he thinks is going to probably take the most snaps, etc. It's a really good podcast to listen to. You get straight to the point. There ain't a whole lot of buffer talk or sponsorship stuff going on. So I enjoy it.
Did he say anything about Mike Williams having a stinker? Because I needed 3.71 points and he got 2.1.
He actually did say that he was personally going to pull Williams out of his lineup himself, and he did. I forget who he replaced him with, but whoever it was, he ended up getting 19 points out of. So, yes, he actually did say something about pulling Williams.
Well, all right. Well, I'm going to start listening to him now because he knows something I don't.
All right, so I think we lost Caleb for a second there. I'm going to remove him until he gets his connection back. The next guy we wanted to bring up, though, was Jalen this week. Was anyone able to catch the Rams game?
Who'd they play again? Oh, Cardinals. No, I was driving back home.
Yeah, I think it was their first loss, right?
Yeah. Shout out Luke Payne. Rams are fraudulent. No,
Rams
apparently
fraudulent.
Jalen locked down D-Hop again, as usual.
Yeah, that's nice to see. I was surprised in general to see the Cardinals get the better of the Rams, but apparently they're for real because they're still sitting at 4-0. So this one, speaking of Luke Paynes, is going to make him real happy. It looks like we've got let's kick it to you, Ben. Tell us about Derwin and Asante for your team last night.
Just lockdown. Aside from 2 plays on Ruggs, which I thought the Ruggs play was a little bit of offensive pass interference. But
dude, Ruggs is so quick. I mean, he could get the better of anyone just by running in a straight line.
Yeah, so I didn't care about the Derwin one at all. Because, I mean, if you don't jam Ruggs at the line, he's going to –
And Derwin made up for it, too.
Yeah, Derwin got the pick to win the game.
Yeah.
But people are wondering, are the Chargers the best team in the NFL? I mean, that's what people are saying. That's what I'm hearing.
That's not for us to decide.
They're definitely in LA.
I mean, honestly, it's kind of funny because they're both over there in LA now sharing the new stadium. And I feel like they're both really good, the Rams and the Chargers. They both have similar coaches. They both have, like, lockdown Knowles on defense. It's kind of funny to see that, all those similarities between those two teams. But, I mean, honestly, I'm going to have to side with the Chargers over the Rams just because they've got 3 Knowles. They also have Joey Bosa. Shout out to St. Thomas. But were you able to catch this game at all, Chris?
I wasn't able to catch the game, but I was able to catch the highlights and then rewatch some of the game. I'm going to say that I'm extremely impressed with Asante Samuel personally. I know that last month he got rookie defensive player. And I'm going to be honest with everybody, I didn't know if he was ready for the NFL.
Really?
When he went in. And the way that he has progressed and grown as fast as he has, I'm extremely impressed with what he's done. And when you got someone behind you like Derwin James, obviously, the way that he works even through injuries, I think it's really showing up on the field for Asante, and I couldn't be more proud just because they're Knowles. But other than that, I didn't really get to watch a whole lot. I got to hear a lot about how well they did, and I did get to see the highlights, like where Derwin got that interception that basically put the game away. But I heard a lot of good things about what Asante did throughout the game, and Derwin as well. But
yeah, I mean, he's got rookie defender of the week, I think 2 weeks in a row now. Going into this last game, I've always liked him a little more because, I mean, like I've said every week on this show, he went to St. Thomas as well. So you actually have him and Joey Bosa on that team. But I don't know. I thought it was a tough game for him. He had some good moments, but I feel like it was probably the toughest game he's had. But, I mean, Derek Carr and the Raiders with Henry Ruggs are no joke. So hard to blame him there.
I like seeing Derwin all over the field. He was just everywhere. He was swarming. It's fun to watch.
Yes, dude. He's amazing. I was pretty upset last night because I cut this game off about 5 minutes before the interception just because, I thought the game was over, and then he goes and picks it. So right once I got in my room, I opened up Twitter and saw that I had missed that. So disappointing on my end. But last guy we've got here is Brian Burns. Carolina took their first loss to Dallas. It was a tough game for them on defense. But, I mean, going into the week, people were saying they were one of the best Ds in the league, partially because of that defensive line with Brian Burns have been getting after it. I didn't catch this game. I know he had 4 tackles. It doesn't look like he had any sacks, but he's been showing up big time for them all season.
Yeah, he's been just wreaking havoc throughout on offensive lines throughout the league.
He is, and it seems like he's always been like that, but it seems like he's getting more like clout for it this year. He's getting more recognition, and people just outside of FSU and around the NFL are starting to talk about him a lot more. So
he's finally getting developed too. He never got developed in college.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a shot at our D-line coach or what, Ben, but
I was just saying, we haven't had any. I wasn't really a shot at Odell. It was more of a shot just like our staffs in the past couple of years in general.
Yeah, that's fair. And I said that a few weeks ago on our Knowles and the Pros segment, basically that Burns was one of those guys who I think is going to end up having a much better NFL career than he did college. And I think there's going to be more than a few from like these last 3 or 4 seasons who you're going to be able to say that about, like especially Derwin, Asante most likely, Brian Burns. I mean, there's guys who are going to be household names who were not that way in college.
Yeah. To answer your question more, I've been a Chargers fan since the Bucs signed Tom Brady.
Really? To
April
explain
10th.
that story.
Okay, so it all started. I was like a halfway Eagles fan because my dad was like from Philly, so I was an Eagles fan until 2017, and then I followed James to the Bucs. So I was like, "Fuck it." So the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and then I was a Bucs fan. They cut Jameis, signed Tom Brady, hate Tom Brady, became a Chargers fan like April 10th, 2020, or some shit like that. And then, of course, the Bucs won the Super Bowl. So I feel like if I stop being a Chargers fan, the Chargers will win the Super Bowl.
Fair enough. I guess kind of a weird reason, but I'll take it.
I'm
So
happy.
let's jump out of Knowles and the pros here, unless you guys had anyone else you wanted to touch on. No?
Oh boy.
Looks like we got our host back.
I am so sorry for that. I don't know what happened. My internet, I guess, just stay wired. So y'all continue where y'all are at, and I'll pick in.
We were finishing
Man,
up our
the
Knowles and the pros. Ben was telling the totally ridiculous story of how he became a Chargers fan.
Yeah, Lucas says it's like I wasn't a Chargers fan when they went like 5-14. Like, that was their first season. So let's grow up a little bit.
Just you know, both the boys, you know, played well. Derwin had that one busted play where he gave up a pretty large chunk of plays, but then he was able to steal it at the end. So that was big for him. Asante Samuel Jr., had a great game, another great coverage game. Still one of the highest rated players in that game as a rookie. He earned back-to-back, you know, defensive player rookie of the week, and then, you know, defensive rookie of the month as well. So Asante Samuel putting on, you know, for Florida State. Derwin obviously sealing that game for the Chargers was huge there on Monday Night Football. So really awesome to see them doing their work.
Yeah, my last note here is completely unrelated, but the main reason I just shut this game off early and quit was because there was no Manning cast this week. So that's
why was there no man? Did they tell us why, or was it just?
I don't know. I want to tell myself that it's because Eli gave it the old double birds right to the whole country, but I have no reason. I didn't hear anything about it. It just wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't know. I was watching the regular broadcast and I made money off the game. I went positive for the first time.
I did laugh how today the Monday Night Football Twitter account was tweeting about how it was their most viewed broadcast of the season. And I was like, well, no shit. You got rid of the show that everyone actually wanted to watch. Yeah, I think that's most of the headlines from our Knowles and the pros this last weekend.
Yeah, Brian Burns didn't really do too much. The first week that the Carolina Panthers were held without a sack in a game, so didn't really see too much. He had a batted ball down, I think, but that was about it. But let's switch over to the college sphere now here, boys. Mackenzie Milton being nominated for the Mayo Clinic Comeback Player of the Year award amongst two other players with himself. Any thoughts on this? I think, you know, it probably should go to him just based off of what he has gone through in his whole entire career after that injury, potentially having to lose his leg. Takes 2 years to recover just to even be able to walk again. They told him he would walk in pain. Every time he tried to walk, he would just be in pain the whole time. And he's on the football field. So I couldn't think of anybody else better to give it to. Is he necessarily performing up to what we thought he necessarily would be able to? No. But the story is still fantastic, and he's still worthy of that award, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, before Ben goes on a rant, I'll say good for him. And it's a nice story, and it's good to see like a Knoll getting national recognition for something. But Ben's going to say this in a different type of way than me. I sort of don't care. I don't really want him back on the field anyways. So good for him. I'm glad he's healthy, but I'll ride with number 13.
Here is my instant reaction if it'll play. We do not care at all. We do not care. As long as he's not playing, won't care. Oh, shit.
Did you have any thoughts on that, or any thoughts on Milton and how he's done in general, Chris, just because this is the first time we've got you on this season?
I personally think if we would utilize the QB situation better than we have been, the best that has been utilized is against Notre Dame.
Yeah.
The reason being, what you have to do at that point is if you're starting Milton in a game, or you bring Milton into a game where, let's say it's before half, you're pretty much asking for failure. The reason that I say that is because if you start off your game plan with bringing in Travis, and you run that defense nonstop, whether it's for positive yards or not, they got to chase the kid. And if you're wearing them down constantly, and you finally get their hands on their hips and their heads are down and they're tired now, and then you bring Milton in and you start picking them apart in the secondary, because Notre Dame never backed off of bringing their safeties up when they were playing against us after Milton came in. That's why it looked like Milton was making these great throws, or these tight window passes, or why we came back from an 18-point deficit. If people would have paid attention to all the work that was done before of how you wore that defense down and how they started respecting that quarterback taking off, and they never backed off of it, which is their mistake. But you pretty much plan on, when a defense gets set in a set of what they're going to do, and they've had to respect Travis this entire time. Now Milton's came in and he's starting to pick the secondary part because they're tired from coming up to try to stop their run.
Yeah.
They're tired of double covering a running back or a tight end, because that's pretty much Travis's memo. He's going to dump the pass in the flat if that's his check down. So regardless if Travis is getting positive yards every play, they're still chasing that kid sideline to sideline. You watch him in the Syracuse game. He does circles back there in the back, and they're steadily chasing him. And then he'll take off for a 30-yard run out of nowhere. Yeah, so if you utilize the two better than Mackenzie Milton, if you post it just based off of the Notre Dame game, yeah, he deserves the award. If you base it off of what's happened in previous weeks, I wouldn't say so much, because his performance has been down. I mean, we had 6 turnovers. It just, yeah. No. I think it comes down to how you utilize these two quarterbacks together. If we utilize them better, this staff is saying that they want to set up these young men to succeed. Well, if you want them to succeed at the highest level, you have to use your strong point, and your strong point is to wear the defense down with the legs of Travis, and then pick them apart with the tight window passes with Milton. And I personally believe that Travis has gotten a lot better with passing the ball. It's just the pressure part he's got to get used to. But I guess, long story short, I would say that I don't know another player that would deserve that award more than he does.
Yeah.
Is that a seeked out award? Are we talking about a Heisman? No. Are we talking about any type of award that Florida State's used to talking about? No. So you're not going to get a whole lot of attention from Florida State fans or Florida State alumni or boosters, anything about a comeback player. I mean, kudos to the young man. I know how significant the injury was. I personally haven't had it, but I personally know people that have. And I know that they still to this day do not walk correctly. So he's done something right.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about how Notre Dame didn't adjust well, and Milton was able to take advantage of that. To me, though, to like expound on that, he's dropped off since then. Like, he's had chances to make those throws and to be in those similar positions, and he hasn't been able to do it. I mean, if you only look at the Notre Dame game, it makes sense for me to think that he could come in and pick apart a tired defense. But I haven't seen it from him since then, which is the main reason I just don't really want to see him again, because I don't see his passing ability between the Jacksonville State, Wake, and Louisville games as being any better than Jordan Travis, personally. And, I mean, Jordan Travis, I'm just a major fan because of how he puts it on the line. And not to say that Milton, doesn't care about his team or isn't all out for his guys, but the way that Travis is able to do that with his play is a different level. So when they're giving you a similar level of passing and Travis brings that and he brings the running game, that's why I favor him so much right now.
Yeah, just shout out. You see Ben swinging the bat. You see me pointing and fist pumping. AL wild card game going on right now between Boston and Yankees. So Red Sox fan here myself. Ben's root for the Sox. So Boston just hit another bomb, go up 3-0, good stuff. But that's not what we're talking about. But I agree with both of you guys. I get why he's nominated for it. I think he ultimately should win just because of it, just being able to get back on the field.
Yeah.
Is kind of a miracle. But I do agree with the digression of Milton as the season has gone along. You have all that adrenaline coming into that first game when you're coming in for Travis, and miracles happen, and that's what happens. Team's not prepared for you. So, but I obviously think we need to ride with Travis from this point on. I think it's been proven to the coaching staff as well, as we see with the depth chart coming out this week. There's no or next to the starting quarterback. We know Travis is the guy as long as he's not hurt. So that's awesome that we're looking at moving forward. But let's talk about this game this past week. Finally, we got a dub on the board, guys. We got a W in the win column. We are now 1-4, not 0-5. It came down to the last play of the game on a field goal. Some heroics by Travis as well. 2 huge runs on that last drive to get the ball into the into the kicker's area. And the only thing that kind of made me nervous was the fist pump that he did after he kind of ran it into the middle of the field. I was like, don't fist pump yet, dude. Like, don't fucking do that. Like, don't break my heart like that. Like, get all excited about a win and then have Fitz miss it. But Fitz, absolutely came through clutch. Awesome for him. But just hear you guys' thoughts, and then, we'll get into a little bit deeper conversation of what still needs to be improved on, because there's obvious areas that still need to be fixed.
Yeah, I was at the game. It was a good time because similar to the Notre Dame game, I mean, it was really competitive and we enjoyed it being competitive, whereas the Jacksonville State game, we were pretty pissed that one was competitive. But, I mean, it was back and forth, and being at the game and in person, that's enjoyable, and winning it on a walk-off kick is a good time. Going back and looking at it after and watching the sped-up game on YouTube is actually pretty frustrating. I mean, there's 2 times when we were up by 10 and couldn't put it away. And, I mean, you've got the muffled punt. You've got the interception on the wide receiver bubble pass. And, I mean, those were just killer. There's a few times where the defense, and, I mean, I think the defense was probably their worst game. I mean, there's a few times where they were in those, like, crucial downs. Norvell calls them cash downs, and they just blew it. I mean, it was disappointing to see. So it made for a good game, and it was a fun game to watch. But, I mean, happy to get the win and the moment. And looking back, I'm kind of like, we really had most of the same issues we've had all season.
Fitzgerald should not be on this football team. He's not
number 1 kicker in the nation, bro.
Dude, I at first when Travis ran it and he was off to the hash mark, and I was like in the end zone looking right down at where the kick was coming towards, I was like, there's no way he's going to do this. And then they centered the ball. I felt a little better about it. And then they iced him, and I was like, no freaking shot. If there's anyone in the country that you can throw off by calling a timeout right before the field goal, it's going to be this poor kid. I mean, he missed the extra point earlier in the game. And, I mean, before Travis had that explosive play running down the sideline, I told my buddy who was I was at the game, I was like, if this comes down to a kick, I'm going to shit myself. Like, I'm not going to be able to watch if we have the kick to win this thing. But, I mean, he proved me wrong, so thank goodness.
Yeah, so I think if we had a good kicker, we might be looking at 3-2 because we probably beat Notre Dame, or at least make them kick a field goal, then get double overtime. We probably beat Louisville because I don't know, you need like a field goal, then you don't miss 2 field goals and an extra point in one game. That's not acceptable. And then what was the other game? Okay, so maybe, and then we beat Syracuse, so, we're 3-2. So, special teams is important. And apparently our staff does not think so, because we were very bad at it.
Oh, I don't think that's true. I just think we're bad at it, even though how much we put into it.
Whatever could not be any worse.
It's been talked about it on numerous occasions how we spend the most time, and we spend so much time in practice on special teams. And, well, if we think about it from last year, special teams was one of the bright points that we had, right?
That's true.
And that was huge for us, and
especially defending special teams.
And it hasn't been that way this year. I mean, even looking at the special teams from this game, somebody I want to pick out and kind of be a little harsh on is Ja'Kai Douglas. Why are we being slow when we're taking a return out? If you're taking a return out, you need to go pick a hole. And if you get popped, you get popped. That's what it is. But pick a hole, make a move, and try and get more than 10 yards to get us to the 15-yard line, because it was on a consistent basis that happened.
Did you hear his explanation for that play?
I did not.
Basically, they said
it wasn't just one play. There was twice where I at least saw him 2 times do that.
Well, on the one where he shouldn't have even fielded it at all. Basically, they said he wasn't sure if he was like in the end zone or not, so he's hesitating, thinking, should I kneel it? Should I go? And he kind of comes out.
Which shouldn't happen.
Inside the 25.
Yeah, no, it should not happen. That's what went down.
Like if you catch the ball for 2 and kneel it, you get the ball for 25. It's like a fair catch.
Well, if you catch it within what the 10-yard line or something, and you fair catch it, is it just NFL?
That's not if you kneel it. That's if you fair catch it.
Right. You can still do that. So if you're not positive about being able to have a hole or be able to do anything, why not just do that and get the ball at 25 instead of hesitating and being slow when you do run the ball? Chris, do you have any thoughts?
Well, I'm going to start off with Fitz, the kicker.
Yeah.
You were saying that we'd possibly be 3-2. I agree with that. I also agree that in the Syracuse game, we left 4 points on the board. We missed a field goal and an extra point.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't have been as close as it was at the end there. They would have had to have scored a touchdown to come ahead of us. They wasn't going to kick enough field goals because they couldn't get the ball there, more so on their end, not ours. Defensively, this probably was our worst game especially the defensive line. They disappointed me quite a bit. I don't understand how you prepare for Cunningham against Louisville. Not that they didn't beat us, but for the most part, we contained Cunningham pretty well.
Yeah.
And you bring in Peyton/Eli Manning in here. I understand the kid is supposed to be able to run a little bit, but Jesus, he ran more on us than Cunningham did. And athlete versus athlete, it's no comparison. So it bothers me that we didn't adjust to that quarterback running the ball the way that he was. Why we didn't leave a linebacker or a safety down on him to spy on him, I don't know. It seemed like when Gaynor came into the game, he spied on him pretty well, and they didn't run the ball that way. But for the most part, he was getting away from, you could say, the best defensive player that we got. He was getting away from Johnson a lot. It irritated me because I was at the game as well. The only game that I've missed is Wake Forest so far, and that was because I was sick. But special teams, last year, as it was just said, that was like our bright point. Like it was something we could hang on. Like our special teams does so well that they could potentially keep us in the games where nobody else can. This year, it's like we completely did a 180 and we started going the other direction. And I don't really understand how. Personnel-wise, you've pretty much got everybody back, if not added better. So I'm really confused on what exactly we're doing special team-wise. I don't understand why Douglas is back there instead of Ward, because Ward's on special teams, but we're not putting him back there to get the ball. You got Corbin back there. Well, you know if the kicker has a choice who he's going to kick it to, he's not going to kick it to Corbin. So if you put Ward and Corbin both back there versus putting Douglas back there, I understand that Douglas is a speedster. I get it. But the lack of
decision-making.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't matter if he's a speedster or if he's hesitating like that.
Right. So if you put Ward and Corbin back there as your returners, now they don't have a choice. Like I either got to kick it over their head or pick my poison. Who's going to run it back? So I would like to see that change. I would like to see Ward and Corbin back there as the returners. But yeah, our special teams has to do something. And defensively, I would say that other than, the biggest kudos I can give is to Brownlee Jr. He did not give up a 60-yard pass this time. And it's not that they didn't attempt it. They did attempt it twice. It just didn't work out in their favor. So I do give him kudos for that. I do think the person that's playing the best in secondary right now is Robinson, as in Jamie, consistency-wise. Mm-hmm. And everybody keeps asking me on my page what's wrong with Travis J. Why isn't he starting? he's kind of limited in practice and on the field because of a foot problem.
I'm
When people
consistently
keep
hearing
wondering
that as
that,
well.
that's the situation that's going on with him. And I would say I still don't think our secondary is the worst part. I think our linebacker core is killing us on a lot of these plays. And I expected more out of Gainer this season. I think we'll start seeing more. I really think he's confused with his assignments when he's playing that stud position because he doesn't know whether he's supposed to back out in the coverage or if he's supposed to come in. And I see him hesitate a lot, and that's not like Gainer, especially last year, him leading us in tackles and et cetera. That's just not something I'm used to seeing from him. So I would like to see our linebackers tighten up a lot, and they're really going to need to. I don't want to bring up something before we're there, but I want to see it during the UNC game because it's needed. It's going to be needed a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. Let's stay there on defense with what Chris is saying. I was really confused on not being able to contain Schrader, not really setting the edge there for him to be able to run the ball. That was confusing to me. Obviously, it was a glaring mistake. Dude had over probably 120 yards rushing that game. Don't know the exact stats for him, but I remember at one point the ticker or whatever flashing up showing over 100 yards, and he didn't even have 100 yards passing at that point. So it was a big confusion to me, big question mark. Why can't we set the edge? Why can't there be a linebacker or somebody spying? Why can't Jermaine or Kier, no matter who's on the outside, just pop out? I understand, you're going towards the ball, but you got to play assignment football. You don't just always go for the ball.
Yeah.
But, that's also what the scheme teaches, right? You go for the ball. I know that's what we play. Playmakers make plays towards the ball. They always got their eye on the ball. But it's also you got to be able to be sound, specific in what you do in the play that you're making. So that kind of concerns me moving forward. Hopefully they get that adjusted. I know Sam Howell's not as big of a runner. I don't know if we'll face any more runners necessarily besides maybe Emory Jones or De'Aaron King that will be able to necessarily beat us off the edge like that from a quarterback perspective. But that's something to watch. And then big shout outs to Brendan Gant not getting tossed out of a game for a late hit. Again, big shout out to Jarian Jones for not having too many stupid penalties again and actually making a decently big play late in the game where he turned his head around and, was able to get in front of a wide receiver on a long pass, which he has been beat on consistently throughout the whole season.
Did you
but
see
yes,
him?
You're 100% right, Chris. When it comes to the biggest question mark here, it's not necessarily the secondary. I've kind of blamed the secondary up to this point in the year for being the problem, but I think a lot of that stems from the linebackers not being able to do their job and then the secondary having to try and catch up to it and then getting lost and trying to make a hero play because that's all you can try and do at that point when the linebackers don't necessarily do what they do. And we've talked about the linebackers. They look slow. They're not necessarily moving through the holes, staying with their guys the way they're supposed to be. Don't really understand what's going on. But, a lot of improvement here from the secondary, in my opinion. Not a lot of passing there for Syracuse in this game other than a couple big plays, which needs to be shored up. We've heard Fuller talk about that. We've heard Norvell talk about that. We got to shore up the big plays. We can't have those big plays because that's what kills us. But most of the big plays that we saw came from Schrader in the run game. And so if you can limit those, then you're looking pretty good. And then, that we go from there on the defensive side of the ball.
Did you see Jarian Jones tweet out about – it's a little off topic, but he was like making fun of Hunter Renfro's like stance or whatever. And then
I didn't even comment on it. Some
FSD like screenshot was like, I know this man is not talking right now.
I see. I that's what I thought, but I didn't comment. I didn't want to say anything like on social media. Like I don't need to take a shot at this dude on social media, but I can think
pay money to watch him.
And I'll say it on here. Like, dude shouldn't have probably been saying that about Hunter Renfro on Twitter, but like whatever. I'll say that on here, but I'm not gonna put it out there on social media just for everybody to be like, oh,
I don't
funny.
tweet at players unless it's Fitzgerald, which I deleted, or Josh Griffiths, which I don't delete.
I do think before we get out of talking about the defense here, because we all just kind of shitted on them, we should get props for, I think, their best moment of the season by far. I mean, I can't think of any other ones. Was that goal line stand they had where they held? I mean, Syracuse ended up scoring right after, but I mean that fourth down stop was nice. I can't think of another play where we've been in an important situation and everyone has not only been physical and chasing the ball, but like been in the sound spot that they're coached to be in, and kept their contain, and we were able to hit him with Deloach, hit him with Coop, and really stop the quarterback sneak there of a QB run. So you got to give props to them. And no, he was definitely not.
He was definitely
his
short, like
knee
half a
was
yard.
down. He was clearly down before he
was
stuck that
extremely
across.
short.
Yeah. I mean, you have to give props. This is their best
Well,
moment.
I don't think we're necessarily shitting on them. I think there's just room for improvement. I think that's what Chris
Yeah.
and I both have kind of relayed, is that
No,
we are
that's
proud of the way the defense kind of performed this past weekend. I mean, at one point, I think in the second quarter, maybe there popped up a thing like Florida State hasn't allowed any points in the last 3, 4, 5 quarters or something like that, which is huge for us, which is awesome. And then all of a sudden in the second half, I don't know, we got tired what the deal was, but you allow those big plays to happen, which is the course when you make halftime adjustments on both sides of the ball. So you expect to kind of give that up, but I think for the most part we are giving them props. I give props to Jerry and Jones for coming out playing a much better game, gave much props to them, but there's still improvement that needs to be made on the defensive side of the ball, which is where most of the problems, arise for our team, other than, the passing game, which we'll get to here in a bit.
Is Fuller still after the year?
Well, I guess the biggest question is it coaching or is it scheme players?
It's not the scheme.
I think it's coaching.
I don't think he can get them up. Like, he can't get them ready to play. Like, they don't respect him.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part.
You can't get the guy, like, they've been in position, but if you can't get your players to get ready to play, that's part of coaching. So,
but I mean, so all three of us have talked about Fuller multiple times this season. I mean, Chris, what do you think about him and like his outlook for the season and where we go with defensive coordinator, like whether it's him or we move on, or what do you think happens there?
Well, I've said this at the beginning of the year, and I've continued to state it. If we don't improve drastically defensively by the end of the season, if you notice the coaches, how many coaches and position coaches signed extensions, Dillingham and Fuller were the only two that didn't. The reason being is because they're unproven. Fuller more so than Dillingham as of last year. I personally believe that if we continue this route, this will be Fuller's last year. Who we go after, and we're going to have to pay. And I don't know the man by name all the time for some reason. I think it's Paul, but the Iowa defensive coordinator, that's who they're going to go after. There's ties between him and Norvell at Arizona State. They cross-coached a couple of times at different universities. They did a lot of camps together when he was out in Arizona State. So there's definitely a friendship / coaching partnership that's already been built before. And for some reason, this defensive coordinator wants to stay in college because he's been offered multiple times to go in the NFL, and he doesn't do it. He stays with Iowa. And he's not a high-paid defensive coordinator by any means. So I think if you even offer him what we're paying Fuller, he's gonna slip ring and probably come to us because of the ties he has with this staff already.
I will contribute $5.
What's that?
I'll contribute $5 to it right now.
That's interesting though, because it's kind of nice to hear someone bring up a name that's not Dan Lanning and a more realistic option. I didn't know they had that connection either.
Well, there's also been the rumor out there that Randy Shannon came down in the second half of the previous game.
No.
Well, no, he was there the whole game because Marcus Woodson had like a family emergency.
Okay. So that name has been tossed around. Any quick thoughts on a Randy Shannon type takeover there? No.
If you want to win, you pay.
I don't think that's realistic.
Don't go the cheap route again. We've gone cheap and it hasn't worked. Go get someone good.
All right, cool. Just wanted quick thoughts on that. Everybody says no. Just wasn't quite sure where everybody stood, but now we know. But let's switch over to the offensive side of the ball. Jordan Travis passing Charlie Ward, setting a new career rushing record for an FSU quarterback with 932 yards after his 113-yard performance here this past weekend. How did we look at that? on the offensive side of the ball, other than the obvious missed blocks by Cameron McDonald on the interception.
I mean, I think it's cool. I don't think it doesn't make him Charlie Ward or anything, but I think it's nice for him to get that and have like some some returns on how much he's put into this team. For him to hold that that record is pretty cool. I mean, he's got a lot of growing to do, and he's going to run for a lot more yards because I mean he's going to be back next season, so he's gonna like end up beating that record by a lot, and it's well deserved. We just want to see him grow in the other aspect of his game, of course, but I'm definitely happy to see him get that.
I feel like it just is a testament to how like much he's been sacked because I could have sworn he had like 2,000 career rushing yards. I was like, he only has 900. I was like, there's no shot. But yeah, he's just getting his ass kicked back there over and over, and he's still making plays repeatedly after getting up and taking hits. So props to him.
Well, yeah, it's big stuff. Oh, sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, you're good. The gist of it is, I keep getting asked this question from a lot of people. What about Purdy? What's Purdy doing? Why don't we start him? After the whole situation at Wake Forest, people are really gunning for Milton not to get to play, and even so, Travis for that matter. Here's the difference to me. The reason I don't pull Purdy in so quick is because he is still. Whether people say you're good to go or not, you're still coming off of an injury that was significant enough to where you had to step out of camp when you were supposed to be good to go already. So I think the reason why you don't pull Purdy in is 1, he's cold. 2, he's definitely not up to speed. 3, he's still trying to overcome an injury, even though they want to say he's ready to go. Was he more so ready to go than Travis was 2 games ago? Probably. But that's because he took a complete beating. Here's the reason why I say you continue to start 13. Regardless of stats, regardless of goofiness, regardless of interception, regardless of the hesitation in the pocket to get out too soon, the only 4 wins that Mike Norvell has at Florida State, the starting quarterback's Travis. The reason that you stick to that kid is because I put him in a much better athlete, but I put him in the Tim Tebow era kind of player because they find a way to win. Regardless of how they do it, it might not be pretty. It might be one of the ugliest things that you've ever seen. But that kid finds a way to win. So that's the reason why I would stick with Travis over any of the rest of the quarterback room, because the kid, regardless of what happens in the game, he never seems to get down to the point where he just starts making continuous or consistent mistakes. He finds a way to make up for it. He finds a way at the end of games when it's getting to their crunch to take off for 25 or 30 yards, or even make that pass that he did to McDonald. Or, he was under high pressure on a lot of those passes that he did make.
Right, and he made 2 sidearm passes that I think one of them went for a first down. That was huge for us.
Absolutely, and it kept the drive going for us to. And I'm pretty sure if it's the same drive as the one that was scoring the touchdown on, we went up by 10, closer to the end of the half. The end of the second half, and then our defense allowed them to come all the way back down the field and do what they did. But that's the reason why I stick with Travis. So what I tell a lot of people, man, look, I really don't care that he doesn't look like Milton at times at the Notre Dame game. I don't care that Purdy can do both. He can't run as good as Jordan, but he passes better. That's the same case with Milton. Purdy obviously runs better than Milton. He doesn't pass as well. So, a lot of people's argument is bring Purdy in because he's, mid to both. So why not try it? Because he's not ready for that speed. He's not ready. It's just the facts are you're not ready for that speed. It's going to be bad because the offensive line, as much as people say that Jordan is running for his life and in a lot of this, Jordan's a little bit more hesitant. If you notice, Milton doesn't get hit as much as Jordan does because Milton knows how to hide behind those blocks.
He also has a quicker release to kind of get the ball ahead of the receiver when the receiver is not even looking, right. Which is your more prototypical quarterback will do is he's going to lead his receiver. Jordan is not your prototypical quarterback who's going to necessarily lead his receiver. He's going to need a guy who's open ultimately.
Yeah, and I mean it's true that Milton keeps his eyes downfield longer and he'll hang in that pocket longer. I mean, Travis, he starts shuffling his feet the second he gets the ball. So he's kind of almost immediately looking for an out. But you want him to get better at passing and you want him to be more confident there. But at the same time, there's a balance between that and just letting him do what he can do, like better than anybody else. So you don't want to completely take him away from that. They don't
Well,
want
you
to
can't
coach
do
him
it.
to
How
the
many
point.
times you can't take him out of it because of what he's able to do.
Exactly,
How many sacks did he get out of?
Yes.
Tons.
Don't eliminate the playmaker by control because
Yeah,
that's
you
how he
don't want
makes
to
his
try
plays.
to change him. You want to give him more tools if you're those coaches, but you don't want to try and change like what his instinct is, because I mean that instinct is the only reason we won games last season, and it's the only reason we've won a single game this season. So you got to let him be himself.
So, Chris, I have a suggestion that they didn't like on the last podcast. So, what I want to do is I want Jordan Travis in the backfield with Ward and Corbin, and we just run the triple option. That's what I want.
Okay, so I'm going to say I'm not a fan of dual quarterback systems, and you're not speaking of it, but I'm not a fan of that one. I have learned I liked it a little bit after the Notre Dame game. Now I've seen that it's crumbled, and now your QB1 needs to be Jordan. If your offensive line could learn max protection, what that means, if they could understand who they're supposed to block, when they're supposed to block them, when they're supposed to come off of a block, I would like to see a regular fucking option. Before we get into triple options, you're about to confuse the hell out of them kids.
Yeah, that's what we were saying last week, Chris. When Ben brought this up, we were like, dude, you have no idea how difficult that shit is to implement.
It took like 2 plays to figure out on NCAA 14.
So I can agree with Chris. Regular option could work.
Yeah, and I mean, Ben, the biggest thing that they do, or one of their like most go-to concepts, is Travis like
reading.
He's having an RPO originally, with Ward, and then he ends up having the option to throw a bubble screen out to Keyshawn or whoever, right? Corbin, or whoever's sitting there. But I mean, when you have Travis back there, him having that second read of throwing the bubble screen, he's also got the option to just take off, as like we've seen him do plenty of times. So I mean, it's not like they're missing on options. It's just that they have one of them on the outside because they don't trust their line to do the blocking. So they're trying to push some of that responsibility to the wide receivers and get that numbers advantage on the outside. So I mean, it's not like they're not doing creative stuff, but I mean, it's not going to work for them because of their line to Georgia Tech it.
I mean, the whole thing is utilizing our playmakers, right?
Yes.
Then why are we on Ontario Wilson on bubble screens? If we want to utilize some playmakers.
Well, he is a playmaker. He should be a playmaker. He's just not.
He's our leading receiver.
He's not making plays.
They're trying to, but it all comes down to what the other wide receivers are able to do blocking wise.
Maybe it's Helton on the bubble screen.
But they're also the opposing defenses. You have to understand the opposing defenses aren't playing the middle of the field for us, Ben. They don't play the middle of the field. Opposing defenses don't play the middle of the field for us at all. Like if you look at the stats, they don't play the middle of the field because we do not utilize it because they don't trust Travis to throw over the middle of the field. I get it.
That's part of that, and that's also that's to our advantage because I mean I think Corbin had the outside the counter run versus Notre Dame, but most of our explosive plays have been Ward or Corbin going right up the gut on like draw plays or delayed handoffs. So I mean they take advantage of it. Like they're drawing up whatever they can. I mean there's no like lack of creativity in what they're trying to do on offense.
But what you're doing is where it's definitely helpful in the draw play for us to run up the middle and between tackles. I agree with that 100%. Here's the problem. When a defense is basically allowed just to set the edge, that's why you've seen that weird interception from Jordan that he threw and that kid dove in and caught the ball, whatever. The reason that you saw it a couple times the previous game where Milton did it as well. They were being able to dive on those hitch routes because they are not playing in the middle of the field. They're bringing a safety all the way down the right hash mark on top of you on purpose because they know you're not going in the middle of the field. Here's my problem with us not utilizing the middle of the field. You're going to have to eventually because here's your best option. You have, if I'm not mistaken, number 4, which is Wilson, is a tight end that's a transfer. You've got
Right.
McDonald, which is McDonald. I mean, he is who he is. Both of those are big body guys. Obviously, one's bigger than the other. But if you would pull those guys off that block and they would go up the middle for a dump pass, as you've got this safety that just came all the way down on top of your right hash mark thing, you're fixing to throw another bubble screen.
Well,
If you dump that over the top right there to your tight end, we did it last year against North Carolina. It was one of the best plays we made.
Yep.
So you have to start utilizing the middle of the field with your tight ends. I don't want to see your wide receivers cross. That's fine.
They did that on the touchdown to Keyshawn too.
Right.
In the first half.
Yes.
Similar, not the tight end, but I mean they're
slot receiver.
Baiting you. Yeah, they're baiting you on the bubble, and they're taking advantage of the middle. So I mean,
I don't see why you don't also. Cam McDonald is a good enough. I think Cam McDonald is a better receiving tight end than he is blocking. He's good at blocking. I'm not going to say he's not. He obviously whiffed on that one, which is what led to the interception and all. But he's a very good tight end, and that's where he moved out to the outside, and he wasn't able to block him. Right. That's the problem with Cam McDonald. He's not so great on blocking on the outside as he is when he's right up against the dude on the line. And that's the problem, because if Cam McDonald can't slot out, which is what you would want to do with a guy like Cam McDonald, right, is move him into a slot position, come in, not necessarily on that play, but come in, do a little hitch route 7 yards in, and just be there for a dump down pass to be able to catch the ball when a guy's hanging on his back, which is what you should be able to do as a tight end. We see it with Kittle. We see it with Kelsey. We see it with Mark Andrews. We see it with all the tight ends in the NFL. Gronk, all of them.
Tight ends.
I mean, Gronk's more of a seam guy, but with all those guys, they come in, do a little 7 yard in, and cut back and sit there in the zone, and that's what you're supposed to do. But when you don't do that regularly, and you're put in that position to do that, it's not going to work out. So the fact is that it's not being consistently taught. And that's the problem, is we came into the season expecting the tight ends to be a very focused aspect of the offense, right? That's what we were all told, at least. That's what we were all hearing from everybody, especially in the media of Florida State, that there's going to be a very wide use of tight ends. And it has yet to happen. It has yet to mature, because I don't know if we have the tight ends to do it.
Yeah,
Donald could do it, but is he comfortable enough? That's
not to talk about tight ends for 20 minutes, but I mean, part of what you're saying, and I think why that has happened, Caleb, is exactly the last thing you said, is they don't have the guys to do it. Because I mean, you have Cam, okay, and he's more of a receiving threat. I mean, I don't think anyone would dispute that. You had Jordan Wilson was supposed to be your blocking threat, and he just hasn't been that guy. I mean, he hasn't been what they wanted. So if he's not going to show up, and you have 2 walk-ons, or Wyatt, I guess, got a scholarship, but you have 2 guys who just aren't really like at that level, and so they go away from it. So I mean, people are going to get on Norvell for that stuff, and not that you were doing that, but I've seen it on Twitter mostly, just because people are nitpicking at anything they can when you're 0-4. But I mean, he's working with what he's got. Like if Jordan Wilson doesn't show up and be the guy that we thought he was going to be, like, what are they going to do? I mean, they're not going to stick to that original plan of being a tight end heavy offense. So,
no, what they should do is, at the point, if you can't utilize your back.
Looks like we might have lost Chris there.
Did we lose Chris there?
You just have to put somebody in that slot to be able to do that dump pass too.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah, we lost.
So was I going to repeat it? Yeah, you skipped out there.
What I was saying was, if your 2 tight ends aren't capable of doing what you're needing them to do as far as that middle threat, then you have to do exactly what you did with Helton. But I think you should do it more. I think you should still put Helton on the outside a lot to take away that corner. But you should bring in that Tofilia kid, or you should bring in 2 backs at once. I mean, bring in Corbin and Ward, whoever's your better hands as a receiver. Put them in the slot across the middle, and now you've got that. An RPO is not supposed to be anything besides a triple play. Okay, that's what we called it when I played football. Anyway, you're either going to be able to do your check down with a tight end or a slot receiver. You're going to either go deep or a hitch route with the outside receiver, or you're going to dump it to your running back. One of the three need to happen. You have 4 options with Travis, because if he doesn't like which direction the running back's going to go and he sees that no one's going to be open, he has the option to take the ball and run it the opposite direction, because they're both faced different ways. If you're going to hand the ball off from the right-hand side, your running back most likely is either going to go up the gut or to the left. Your option is to be able to run to the outside of the right. So if you see the defensive end bite and come in, that's what opens up that ability for the quarterback to take off on the outside of the play. But they're not getting that option, and you're seeing Travis take a lot of licks because no one has to go to the middle of the field. They don't have to cover it. That safety's coming down in run protection, and he's knocking dudes' cleats off. That's just how it's going to work. And he's already too close for you not to be able to – I mean, Jordan got to make a hell of a play at any point in time in them scenarios. And you've seen him do it, and you've also seen him get licked.
Right. It's becoming all on his shoulders. And it's all up to Travis. And there's not a lot of help on the outside the outside, but obviously over the middle. But I mean, from the outside, that's what you got to do. You got to be able to find that space in the middle, and it's not happening. So I think we can all agree on things that are happening on the offense and what's not. And there's definitely a space missing that a lot of teams are picking up on and why it's limited to us. But let's move in from this previous game to what we're going to be coming up on here and our next opponent in UNC. Obviously, we just got notified that Dennis Briggs, our starting defensive tackle, didn't play last game. Obviously, he got injured in the Louisville game. Is going to be out for the remainder of the season with an injury. That's happened. But what are our thoughts on that? And then also what we're going to see from UNC, because they do like the attack. They do like to attack downfield. That's kind of been our weak point up to this season. Obviously with the Jacksonville State game, obviously with one of the first touchdowns in the Wake Forest game, just deep passes all day long. Sam Howell's got an arm. We know they got good wide receivers. Don't necessarily have the running backs that they had last year in the two-headed monster. On the road, 3:30 p.m. game. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on Dennis Briggs?
We're going to win. Just throwing that out there. We're going to win. Mac Brown can't beat us. I said we were going to beat him the entire year. We're going to win this game. However, I pray for our secondary. I pray for them.
Dude, they're in trouble.
I'm not going to be watching it. I'll be at the Auburn-Georgia game. So, I don't really care if I miss our 1-4 football team. I'd like to watch.
We see where your alliances lie, Ben.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go get fucked up and I'm going to watch good football.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. UNC obviously is not what we thought they would be if we would have talked about this preseason. At the same time, though, I mean, they're going to come into this game hungry. They're definitely pissed about last season because that was their one chance at a top 5 team, and we kind of, upset them, spoiled it. So I think they're going to be ready to go. I don't think we're going to catch them off guard the way that Virginia Tech or anyone else has this year. You're not going to catch them sleeping. And I think the biggest thing is Sam Howell versus our secondary is a problem. I mean, I like our defensive front a lot, and they also don't have either of those 2 running backs. So I'm not worried. Even if they had them, I wouldn't be worried because those guys didn't gash us that badly last year. But, I mean, I'm worried about their passing game, and I'm worried about us keeping up in how much points we can score. So I've watched a limited amount of UNC, mostly because they haven't been exciting and they haven't been that team I thought they would be preseason, which is top 10 caliber. So we'll see how this goes. But, I mean, I haven't felt confident since the Notre Dame game, and that's not changing just because we beat Syracuse.
Do you remember when we played Miami a couple years back? We just hit the shit out of Kaya right in the head because it kept hitting Francois.
Yes.
Send Brandon Gannon first play, targeted.
Yeah. Brandon Gannon is
15
your
yards
modern day Trey Marshall.
That's a good way to put it, dude. He's our modern day Trey Marshall. I remember Trey Marshall would get tossed every other game. Trey Marshall.
I don't want him to be hurt, but get a stinger to where he can't play the rest of the game. He's good to go on that Monday. I wouldn't be mad if he did that.
I mean, it's not a bad tactic, but I don't necessarily think this coaching. I don't think this coaching staff's gonna be like, Brandon, guess what, dude? Come here.
I don't see that happening.
I need you to go get kicked out of this game in the first half of the next one. We're playing UMass next week, so you're good. I don't know.
Remember
It's a possibility, but I just don't see this coaching staff doing it.
Forget about it. You're launching, leaning with the crown on the helmet. You're doing everything. You're going to hit him as hard as you can. And, you might win.
You're ridiculous. Your thoughts, Chris?
How you beat UNC on the defensive side of the ball is actually a lot simpler than I think people want to make it. You need two players to have a good game. When I say a good game, I mean just as good as any that they've ever had. Jermaine Johnson off of one edge and Keir Thomas as a linebacker. You get pressure on Sam Howell. As you noticed when we played him last year, he messes up and throws the ball in the wrong direction. That's why a linebacker had an interception against him last year. That's the reason why he couldn't get the ball down the field, because he is just as antsy as the next guy when guys that size are coming at him. He hasn't had a whole lot of pressure until he loses. Every game that they've lost is because the defensive line has created pressure or a linebacker has created pressure as far as spying on him. A lot of block knockdown passes because of large defensive ends. You have that in Jermaine Johnson, so I don't see him just turning down. He didn't do a whole lot in Syracuse, but Keir Thomas got hot when we needed it, and I think he's going to continue that. So I personally think when you got Keir Thomas coming from one side and you've got Jermaine Johnson on the other side, and if you put Coop in, you got a lot of people that are going to be able to put pressure on Sam Howell. And at that point, with them having one dynamic receiver, not that they don't have good ones but you have
they don't have the three that they had last year.
So defensively, I think we can hold them to a lot less points than people anticipate that they're going to score. How they would try to adjust to it is do a lot of dump passes to a running back that's unknown. And I personally don't think that's going to work out for him, because I think Jamie Robinson will be able to stay more south of the ball than north because of the safety. With Gant and them coming down, with the way I think we will, I think defensively we can hold them to a lot less points. Offensively, how you beat them? I mean, what defense do they really have? They're going to have to have a game plan put together to stop everything that they've seen us do. So that's why if you switch up and start going to the middle of the field, and the minute that you frustrate a defense or an offense, you won the game. You just have to continue to frustrate. If you continue to them, they're doing their assignment, they're doing their job, and they're still getting beat, that's when you win the game. And I don't think that's going to be hard to frustrate the defensive side of the ball for UNC. And I really don't think it's that hard to get inside of Sam Howell's head as long as you get pressure on him. And hell, just like you were saying just a second ago, just knock the shit out of him a couple times, regardless whether he gets a good play down the field or not. It's going to be in the back of his mind. Like, when they're hitting me, I got to get out of the pocket. When you force that kid out of the pocket, he's not a great thrower on the run. If he gets a stop and set his feet, yes. But if he is on the run, he's not Cam Newton. He's not any of them. So he's limited on what he can do more so than what people want to say. That's why I think we beat him last year. It's such a surprise to other people. But all you had to do is get any type of pressure on him. And I know y'all haven't asked for score predictions, and I'm throwing mine out there. I think that Florida State still wins that game, even though we're going to Chapel Hill. I still think we win 33-27. It's still going to be close, but I think we're going to outscore them because our defense is going to get on Sam Howell's nerves.
Yep, and I think that's
supposed to rain. Going to be wet, so we're going to run a lot, which benefits us.
That's good. Which bodes well in our favor. But I think you point out a lot of great points. I think all of you guys point out a lot of great points. I think it's not as good of a UNC team that we saw last year, and I think this might be a more talented Florida State team than we've seen in the past, especially with these transfers coming in. Like Chris mentioned, Keir Thomas coming on the scene in this Syracuse game. That's huge. Jermaine took a game off pretty much. Jermaine didn't have to do a whole lot, like that was fine, and we still got the W. Now imagine Keir coming into his own, and now Jermaine being on top of his game, coming into this game, which you need pressure from the outside, which is what we were able to do, not only on the outside, but the whole defensive line as a whole, which we were able to do last year. Y'all remember Sam Howell getting out of the pocket. Guys take the game against Sam Howell very personally, because a lot of the dudes we got right now are dudes that were recruiting Sam Howell to come here. A lot of these dudes know Sam Howell personally, and Sam Howell didn't do it the right way and being able to leave and go to a different team. He was just kind of like see ya. Like, didn't say nothing, didn't do anything. So these guys literally have no respect for the dude anymore. They might say they're still friends with him, but they don't have the same respect that they would have for somebody who did it the right way. So it's going to be very intense. I know we got a lot of transfers on the defense. We got a lot of guys, but there's going to be a lot of animosity going there. I know Amari Gaynor, for one, is one of those people who was heavily recruited. Sam Howell to Florida State, was with him all the time, all that kinds of shit. And Amari Gaynor didn't take that game lightly last year. That's probably one of his best games of the season, was the UNC game. And so he's going to bring it this year as well, I believe. And they're not as good as a team. They don't have the 3 wide receiver sets that they had last year, going full throttle with Des Patrick and 2 other dudes. I forget their names, but like they were just amazing.
And De'Ami Brown.
Yeah, just insane wide receivers. They still got De'Ami Brown.
He's in the league.
Oh, who's the other guy?
Newsome's with someone, and then Brown is.
But yeah, they don't have those guys anymore. They got like one guy that is able to provide that. They don't have Javonte Williams. They don't have Michael Carter anymore. They don't have the same team. Yes, they've got Sam Howell, but these guys are improving. They're young, whatever. They haven't necessarily played really much of a lot of talent or anybody. And that's one thing in Florida State. We got talent. It's a matter of putting it together as a whole, from coaching to scheme to fitting your right fits, being able to communicate on the defensive side of the ball. And that's what it's going to come down to. We're going to have to step up and be able to play that. But I think the boys are going to come to play. You got a lot of confidence coming off a win at home. It's your first win of the season. I don't think they're going to get too high. I think we got too high after that Notre Dame game. We got too high after a loss even. Like, we got way too high off of that. And that's what happened with Jacksonville State, obviously. But they got their first win of the season. Yes, they celebrated, but I think at this point in the season, it's going to be different. We're not celebrating a close loss to a top 10 team in the nation, that we think we're going to be good. We're going to come out and whoop the next team. We know we got work to do to get to where we want to be. So I'm not saying we're necessarily going to win the game, but I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. It's not the same North Carolina team. It's been proven. People have been close with it. And if you bring pressure on Sam Howell, like you said, Chris, gets very rattled when he's got pressure in his face. He does not react well to that pressure. And if Jermaine Johnson, Kair Thomas, Coop, Fabian, all those guys, Jarrett Jackson, those guys can get pressure up the middle, on the outside, that is going to bode very well for us. And then I don't even mind bringing exotic blitzes, because Sam Howell doesn't necessarily react to those. Not only react, but he doesn't check. He doesn't really check to what's coming to him. And especially if you bring it and make it creative a little bit, maybe bring in Kalen or Lundy, no matter who it is, or even bring in a double corner, have your safeties move up when the corners come and blitz. Make it creative, Fuller. If you're going to be creative, this is the game to do it, because this quarterback cannot deal with pressure like a lot of other quarterbacks can and get out of the pocket. Sam Howell is not fast. Is he creative outside the pocket? Can he get the ball downfield? Yes, but he makes a lot of mistakes when he does do that. Force him to beat you. If you force Sam Howell to beat you, so be it. But he's got to be the one to beat you. He's got to be the guy to beat you. Nobody else on that team is going to beat you. Force Sam Howell to beat you, and the only way to do that is to get pressure on him.
Yeah, I mean, not to belabor this too much, but I think the most important thing that any of us said was, Chris, you said they had to not only get after Sam Howell, but I mean, they have to have the game of their life, because I think both of you guys compared how we beat them last year with the defense getting after him. And we talked about how we like our defensive line better this year. The difference is as much as we were disappointed in J-Rob and Wilson and Durden, all those guys last year, I mean, that was their one game where they actually looked like what we expected preseason. So, if they weren't slouches in that game, it wasn't necessarily easy for them to get after Sam Howell that way. So we like our guys better now. I mean, like, we like Kier, Coop, Johnson. I'm worried about them like showing up and playing their best game, especially with Briggs out. That has a factor in the whole conversation here about the defensive line versus Sam Howell. So I agree that, like, if they show up, they play their best game of the season, they get after Howell in that type of way, that's a great sign for us, and that makes it a very winnable game. I'm just not sure, for whatever reason, like, my gut doesn't tell me that's they're ready to do that. I mean, I haven't seen it from them yet. I don't think we've seen them reach like the potential they could on that defensive line between Coop and Kier and Johnson. I mean, they've all been good, it seems like, at different times, and they've all had their shining moments. I don't know if they've been firing on all cylinders yet, and I don't know if you can count on that to happen on the road in Chapel Hill. I'd love it if it did, but we'll have to see.
Here's the reason why I think it will. You know, as we lost to Notre Dame, everybody's like, now we want to see how they respond. We responded poorly against Jacksonville State. Then we lost again and again. How do we keep responding? My question at the beginning of the season was, it's not that we need to learn how not to lose. We need to learn how to win. So if you're going to learn how to win, now here's my question that I think you're going to get a much greater response. I don't care how you respond off of losing. How do you respond off of winning? Do you become addicted to it? Do you now do everything in your power to not feel a loss again? The reason that I think the defense stepped up, Keir Thomas mostly, and Coop, the reason I say that I think they're going to respond and play the game of their life is because of what they were just able to do against Syracuse. It ain't like we got handed the game. It's not like we were out in front by 21 and they came back on us. And we faced adversity from the first step to the very last play. You were battling adversity. And when you come out on top of that adversity, you had to play that hard to win. Now, what happens when you showed this is how hard I can play, regardless of how beautiful it might not have been. But now you've won. Now the question is how do you respond with a win? Now you go on a true road battle. Yes, UNC's UNC. It's at Chapel Hill. Great. All that you can make gravy with it all you want. My problem is with the offensive side of the ball is what does Sam Howell have other than that wide receiver? The offensive line is average. It's not great. They're not great at pass protection, and they don't have running back, so therefore he has to move. Well, if you have someone on the edge of where he has to move to and you just get hands up, almost like you're playing basketball in kindergarten, hands up throws kids off. For some reason, Sam Howell gets thrown off. He just does. I don't know why. But if you go back and just look at the games that they've lost previously this year, the reason that UNC loses is because Sam Howell's not playing his game because he can't. He's not being allowed to. They haven't been able to run the ball. And now when you're eliminating them not being able to run the ball against us, and you're being able to drop a linebacker back into coverage, and you're being able to bring safeties up because he's trying to do short routes to get the ball out of his hand quick, I think that's how you get to him. I think that's how linebackers get interceptions. I think that's how the defensive linemen are they're going to knock the ball down. I think you're going to see a lot of batted passes because of them trying to get the ball out so quick. And they're going to have them at the standpoint of being up tall. So I think that we're going to respond off of a win way better than we respond off of a loss. That's the reason why I think we'll win the game.
Okay.
I hope you're right, but I think I agree with you. And one of the things I want to point out just real quick is that I think the culture, the character of this team is one of those that you can see that I don't want to overuse it like Mike Norvell does, but cares. They really give a hell about what the fuck is going on with their team. They really want to fucking win. When they lose, it sucks. They don't like it. They want to come out there and win the next game. They don't give up. We've seen that. They don't give up. They fight through adversity. And they really care about winning. And once you see that from a team where they don't go down by 14 points and then just give up and just not try the rest of the game, they still try. It doesn't matter to them. This is a different team than we have seen in the past. And I think that alone breeds addiction to winning. I think that alone breeds addiction to winning. And that's where I'll leave it, for the UNC preview. And we'll move on here to Scared Money, Don't Make Money. This is Ben's segment. So Ben, lead us off with our records from last week and our overalls, and then we'll get into our picks for this week.
Yeah, so going on to I say we make it quick so we can get into the last segment, our special one. But we've got I gave myself an extra game last week because I said Auburn plus 3.5, and then I changed it to Texas minus 4.5. But my record sucks, so I deserve the extra game. So I'm sitting at 4-4 4-9. I made money last week. We're making improvements. Caleb is 6-6 again. He's sitting at even. And Christian, I don't know what the fuck he does, but he's fucking 2, 3, 2, 5, 6. He's 8-4.
Christian just keeping up the hot streak, baby. Proud of you, buddy.
This was definitely my worst weekend yet. So we'll see about keeping it up.
All right, but let's get into our picks. I'll go first. Since I probably had the worst record this week at 1-2. I'm gonna take BYU -5. 3:30 game. I like them. I don't even have the schedule put up, so I don't even know who they played. Boise State. I like them -5 at home. 3:30 game. I think that's a pretty solid game for the Hint. They probably win by a touchdown.
No, Thomas is saying Auburn money line. He'll love my first lock. Georgia -16.
Yes.
I don't think Bo Nix has more than 100 passing yards on Saturday. I'm not allowed to leave early, but I'm going to have to figure out a way to leave early. I would hope Auburn wins, so I hope to be wrong. Like, I'll be rooting against myself, but I just don't think just bet Georgia every game and we'll probably make money.
That's exactly what I said last week. The only thing stopping me from actually joining you as one of my 3 picks, Ben, is just Auburn being at home, excited coming off the LSU win. I know Jordan Hare is no easy place to play, so Georgia definitely wins. It is a lot of points, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'll take it to my first one. I'm taking Temple +29 at Cincinnati. I'm looking at this and seeing Cincinnati coming off of the Notre Dame victory, the Notre Dame upset. I see a letdown spot for them. I think they definitely win, but 29 points is a lot, and I like being on that, right side of the 4 touchdowns. So I'm taking Temple +29 at Cincy. And I mean, Chris, I don't even know if we prepared you for this segment, but I mean, do you have any games around the country that you're looking at this year outside of FSU that you think you have a good read on this week?
I think Auburn's actually going to cover the point spread.
Really? Okay, so you're fighting with Ben.
Hey, yeah, I hope they cover.
Hey, mark these down so we can post these, Ben. Mark what Chris has got down because this will be fun to post. He's got Auburn covering those 16 points.
I hope they cover it. I hope they don't cover it unless they win.
I think it's going to be more like a Georgia and Clemson game.
Oh, low scoring.
Yeah.
I could see that. I definitely could see that because I'm not going to trust Bo Nix. Do you know if JT is back for this game?
Should be. He was. I don't know. I think the mailman's back, honestly.
Okay.
All right, I'll go to my second pick. I got Kentucky -3. Coming off obviously a big win against UF. Much better competition than who they're facing this week. 7:30 night game. It's in Kentucky. They're the home team. I like the 3 points just because it's sitting at 3. You win by a field goal, you push. So I'll take Kentucky there at home in a night game with a ruckus crowd. Now being higher ranked than they were. I like them. I think this Kentucky team is just very well balanced. I like them to go ahead and win this game by 3 or more points.
I don't know. I feel like they could have a letdown because I still don't think Kentucky's good, even though I had them ranked 10th in my rankings.
Which is what I've done a lot this year, but it seems to have failed me. So I'm going against the curve.
Fair enough. That's what I should try. Oh, shit. I'm next.
Yeah, what do you got for us?
I like Wake -6 at Syracuse. I don't think Syracuse is good. And I think Wake is good. So, I mean, we beat Wake. I mean, you can't use a transitive property or anything here, but, we did beat Syracuse and Wake kicked our asses in. So, especially with how Syracuse get their defense, they give you a little bit. I think Hart's just going to feast off that with that little RPO. I don't think Schrader, whoever, is going to have any success versus Wake Forest's not awful defense.
Yeah, I think that's a good point about Hartman being able to kind of pick them off and kind of control that game.
Best team in the ACC, baby.
I don't know. My money would still go to NC State. I think this is actually the first week of our Scared Money Don't Make Money that I'm not taking an NC State pick.
You didn't take them last week or week 3.
No? Okay.
But
I feel like I've been on them all season. I know I was heavy on them that Clemson game, and I'm just pissed at myself for not taking the money line. But let me throw it out to my second one is actually going to be Penn State at Iowa. I'm taking Penn State +2. I don't think Iowa is a real deal at all. I know Ben's got that double-sided flag of his. Iowa's fake news. I don't trust their offense, and I think this is the week where they get kind of shown as being overrated and kind of put in their place. I think Penn State can really outscore them, even though it's on the road at Iowa.
Ratio.
I don't know. You might want to buy that up to +3. Buy that.
I think they're going to win outright. So
all right, then go ahead and take money.
I'm not even worried about it.
You might as well throw money line out there. Get you +2 points. You remember money lines are +2.
I will.
Forget money lines are +2.
All right, I'm doing it. I'm taking Penn State money line at Iowa. You talked me into it. You peer pressured me.
I hope they lose by 1.
That's tough.
Chris, you got a second pick?
Yeah, it's actually Iowa and Penn State, but it's the opposite.
Yeah, baby.
Smart man.
He's taking both of y'all's opposites.
I think Iowa actually wins that game by 10.
What?
I don't think Penn State's offense can do much with their defense. I really don't.
I'm on Iowa.
I mean,
too.
I think the same way in the opposite direction. So if it's low scoring, then I'd be happy with the +2. I mean, Caleb talked me into the money line.
Oh yeah, you got to win now. It's already locked in stone.
Yeah. I'm on the money line.
I'm the only one allowed to change stuff because it's on my computer.
Yeah, apparently, right.
Yeah, I like Iowa. I was gonna take Iowa, but I decided against it. But
I think they're a great defense and an average at best offense.
Well, they're better than Penn State, in my opinion. So
we'll see.
My third pick is gonna be Alabama -17.5. 8 o'clock game at night. Obviously, it is in College Station against Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, but Texas A&M has been a huge disappointment to me this year. I knew I went out on a limb in the beginning of the season saying Texas A&M was probably going to be a team that, might sneak their way into the Final Four teams, but that has not been the case. 2 losses in a row. Bama is just going to overmatch them. TAMU is not ready for it. This is going to be huge on the Texas A&M message boards. Can't wait to see the fallout from that.
Those have been fun each of the last 2 weeks.
My third lock in the game we're about to touch on in a little bit, arguably game of the week, mainly just because I have a strong hatred for Walt Bell. I'm taking UConn -3.5 versus UMass.
Easy choice. I mean, I took UConn last week in that plus money versus Vanderbilt, and they damn near won the game. They lost it by a field goal, I think.
30
so, I mean, I guess it was more than that. I still won my bet, but I mean, UConn, as far as all the winless teams go, which there's probably 2 or 3 left, I mean, I don't think UConn is near as bad as UMass. I think Walt Bell is easily the number 1 worst team in the country right now. So I'll easily take UMass on that. No, I'm not going to take it with you, but I'm gonna support you.
All right, I'll allow it.
All right, so I'll jump to my last one. I'm taking Ole Miss to cover 6 points at home versus Arkansas. There's a few things here. I mean, on the Arkansas side, they really got exposed. I mean, obviously, Ole Miss is no Georgia, especially on defense. But I just think Arkansas got exposed as their offense not being that good. And, I mean, they gave up 21 points in the first quarter to Stetson Bennett. So I don't know what Matt Corral is going to have for them, but it's not going to be pretty. On the other side of that, I see Ole Miss coming off the Bama game. They're taking a lot of heat, especially Lane Kiffin is taking a lot of heat for, his aggressive play calling, his 4th down, going for it and all that stuff. And the way they weren't able to keep it close versus Bama, and a lot of people picked them as an upset team or picked them to cover. I see Lane Kiffin coming out swinging in this one. I think he's going to taste blood in the water with Arkansas licking their wounds after the Georgia game. And I probably would have laid a lot more points than 6, but I'm going to take a -6.
Yeah, I feel good about that one.
Yeah.
I had that one. I'd change it to UConn just to Keep it up. Switch it up.
Is there any other games you had in mind, Chris?
Yeah, as long as y'all let me put Florida State just winning outright against UNC, we'll be good.
Take that money line.
And he's taking that money line. He's going for +2.
Is that like plus 500? What's a 17-point spread on the money line?
I can't even take money line on my bullshit site.
I can't. I'd have to look, but it's probably +525 or something like that.
All right. Can I share my screen for the next segment?
I'm gonna take a look right now. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, fellas. For the game of the week, I'm real excited for it. It's where game day should have gone. The come game. Connecticut versus UMass.
So we're all making picks for this one, right?
Yes.
Well, Ben already made his, and I did give him my support. I think it's a easy win for the C and Com. I mean, UConn's gonna fuck him up.
I'll take the income. I'll take the boys.
What?
I'll take Walt Bell, and the boys +3 in the matchup. Being at home helps.
It's UMass.
It doesn't matter, dude.
It's like a Chargers.
It's UMass and UConn. Like,
I think the UConn.
I mean, UConn went neck and neck with the SEC team last week, so I don't know what you're talking about.
You would have called Vanderbilt an SEC team? Go ahead.
Are they not?
I mean,
before I
really
forget though,
it
is +600 on the Knolls.
Ooh.
But back
That's
to
huge
the
money. That's huge.
I'm throwing next year's rent on it.
Yeah.
I'll take Walt Bell and the boys +3 points at home.
There's no shot I watch this game.
I gotta figure out what time it is, but I'm ready.
It's not happening.
I don't even think it's like televised on any network. Yeah, there's no network that it's on.
You're gonna have to Reddit stream that, bitch.
Yeah.
I'll be at the Auburn Georgia game because it's at 2:30, and I'll just be watching UConn UMass on my phone.
You guys don't understand how important this game is to me.
Apparently, UMass has a 62% chance FPAI to win. So
let's go, baby! -3 Minutemen. -3 Minutemen.
Yeah, UMass just lost to Toledo, 45-7. Toledo.
Okay.
Toledo would not beat Vanderbilt.
I don't know.
But didn't Toledo play Notre Dame pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Sometimes
Apparently just anybody can do that.
True.
That doesn't take much.
Who you got, Chris?
beat them.
I literally think UConn's probably gonna beat them by 17.
Yes.
We're all riding.
Not bad.
That's 3-on-1 for
boys. That's
for
fine.
Lions.
I'll take the small. I'll take the lower level of all this. But what happens when I win?
No. I mean, it's not going on a betting record.
Do I get anything? Like,
it's not going on a betting record. It's just we're gonna talk about it next week.
If you win, Ben's gonna do Power Hour on the show.
Yeah, deal. You got to take that, Ben. You got to do Power Hour on the show.
You're welcome,
next week
Ben.
if I win.
Volunteer.
Okay, but
I'll even put UMass money line, not even +3. And if I win, you got to do Power Hour.
Okay, what if I win?
You're the favorite. You're 3-1 right now. You're 3-1 against me. I'm the only guy.
I feel like
going with the Minutemen.
Not a fair trade.
I'll shotgun however many more touchdowns that they win by. How about that?
1 for every 7 points.
I hope it's
one for every 7 points they win by.
I really hope they win by like 777 points.
Is that a deal?
All right.
You do Power Hour. You do Power Hour, and are you writing this down, Christian?
Can I do the Power Hour on the Saturday show at least?
Oh no!
Yeah, no. That's fine.
We do it on a Saturday show.
That's no fun, dude. That's no fun.
Drinking is fun on Saturdays.
I lose weight on weekdays.
Fine. You can do it on Saturday.
And it'll be even worse. It'll be wait, that's dangerous. Never mind. I want to do it on Tuesday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You'd rather do it on a Tuesday. You can just go to bed.
Yeah, I'll do it on Tuesday. All right, fine.
You don't have to try and make it through a game day.
Now I actually have to play my game.
Yeah. All right. So you got it written down, Christian?
Yeah, I got it.
All right, cool. That's awesome. I really hope the Minutemen come through. Be paying very close attention to that game. But boys, that has been it. Thank you everybody who tuned in tonight. We had an awesome show. I want to thank Chris from Spearatics coming in here, the main host over there. If you guys haven't listened to him, go listen to him. They also go live as well before they have their podcast and everything. So great stuff over there. I know Chris is huge on recruiting. So once we hop on his show, I'm sure we'll dive a little bit more into that than so much as just, the general sports sphere of Florida State. Can't wait for that. Chris will let us know exactly, when that's happening. We'll put that out there on all of our social medias. It'll be something to look out for. So you guys stay tuned for that. But we'll go around real quick. We'll start with Christian, go over to Ben, and then end with Chris so he can go ahead and give his shout outs as well.
Yeah, I mean, just me on Twitter. I've got my name right there. Also follow Garnet and Gold and shop at Garnet and Gold. So shout out to local business. And let's hope Chris is right. Asking. Let's hope our D-line gets after him.
Oh, is it me now?
Yeah.
Do you not listen at fucking all?
I thought we were going the other way.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I'll keep it FSU related. Shout out me and Khalifa. I don't know. our favorite FSU porn star.
Well, guys, I want to just tell y'all again, I really appreciate y'all having me on here. I'll give a shout out to Madison Social. I'm sure everybody knows where Madison Social is. If you don't, then you ain't been to Doak Campbell. Now I feel sorry for you. I also want to give a shout out to Robin Hood, which is one of the sponsors that sponsors my podcast. And I will definitely do a lot of shout outs toward Tribal-holics in the upcoming weeks, especially wins. It's really easy to give you guys shout outs. It really helps, I promise. And that's why I think we're going to get another one this week. I do like that y'all say we're possibly going to win, not going to win, but I don't like not hearing score predictions. So y'all can send them to me if you want to. You don't have to say it on here, but I want to know your score predictions for that game.
All right.
I gave you one for the come game now. I'm sorry that y'all have to go to Playboy to watch or rent that, but we're going to mistake. If you have Xfinity, I promise you it's going to be on the After Dark channels. It's going to happen.
You got it.
I'll give mine real quick since Chris asked. Oh man, it's gonna be close. I'm gonna say 27-24 North Carolina.
29-19 Florida State.
All right.
Some impossible score I can think of.
I think 45-10 FSU. I'm just kidding. No, I'm thinking 38-30 Florida State.
I went lower scoring because it's gonna be wet. Like the come game.
Anyways, all right. That's enough for me from Ben.
Yeah, I can't deal with it anymore. Thank you, Chris, again. Chris is the main host over there at Spearatics. I don't even know. Are you the main host? Do you have a co-host or?
Kinda. I team up with Norvell Central,
okay.
Which is Taylor, and me and him kind of do Spearatics together. He's predominantly just Instagram, so I definitely give him a shout out. And he'll actually be on the podcast when I invite y'all on to ours.
Yeah, Instagram's back up and running. I've been a fan of Norvell Central, man. I really like the content and all the information that he puts up there. It's really awesome. So, shout out to Chris from Spearatics as well as Taylor, who does Norvell Central there and joins Chris on a pretty decently regular basis. We can't wait to join you, man, on your show. Just let us know. We'll make ourselves available and be there for you, guys. Be there for you, man.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to this game. It's a big game this weekend, guys, and go Noles.
Go Noles.
Hi.